Like I told you guys in the last video, we had an issue with the bracket for this ladder not fitting up on the bottom. I've got to line this up in my mind. I've got to line that up. So the bracket that they shipped with the ladder did not line up at all. Sorry, Tanarak, that was a complete thing. I don't know how it didn't line up, but because we've got the talented Mr. Pat from Mainline Overland, he was able to fabricate one. He's whipped one up real quick and made that ladder install come together. That being said, I think it's time to finish the roof rack install. We've got the Nomadic AC, we've got the Max Air fan, we've got the ladder on. Let's get some lights going on as well. You guys are gonna love this. Here we go. Fucking send it. With the ladder situation resolved, it's time now to put on the Strands lights. In order to do that, the front portion of the roof rack has to come back off the van. They put it on so that I could drive home, and now that I'm back, they need to take it back off and start wiring up and mounting all the lights. The first two are called the Siberia Night Ranger spots. They are spotlights and they throw light way downrange. The ones to the outside of those are going to be the regular Night Rangers. These are white floodlights. And on the outer edge, we have the Siberia Bush Ranger. These have a yellow lens and are again a floodlight. And the pattern repeats on the other side to give a nice balanced lighting package for the van. Now, normally, Tanarak does 5 LP9s from Baja Designs on this style of rack. Those are 8 inches wide. These lights are all 9 inches wide, and there are 6 of them. So there's way more light going on here. And honestly, I've never seen anybody do something quite that over the top on one of these vans. Now, in order to properly install these lights, we've got to get the wires from the roof down into the van in order to connect everything. That requires the use of what's called a roof gland. For those that don't know, this is a watertight way to get wires through the ceiling of your van, assuming you've installed it correctly. We're actually putting 2 roof glands in at this time to sort of future-proof for things that may go on the roof down the road. That brings us to the arduous task of creating wiring harnesses for this lighting array. This is not something you can just go buy at a store, so Pat had to one by one go through each one of these and create a custom harness based on the groupings of lights that we need and the different functions that are available with these Strands lights. And with that, the lighting is installed. Now, creating the wiring harness took all day. It is not necessarily a really difficult task. It's just very time-consuming to do it correctly. And as you can see, there are 4 guys now carrying this. There's a lot more weight on there with all the lights and wires, but it is time to put it back on the van. And unfortunately for me, this was the start of a 2-week break that I had to take until I could get this thing fully wired up. But man, does that look amazing. It just completely changes the look of the van.
2 weeks later.
The first task for the day was to get the Red Fox side shooters mounted to the rear of the rack. For those of you paying attention, these are the exact same lights I'm using as ditch lights. And of course, more wiring. Now, for those of you that are paying attention, these lights being identical to the ones in the fronts will have some functions tied together. The flashers will be tied together, the amber indicators, the red and white indicators, they will all be tied together in this system. So, we need to create a harness that goes from the rear of the van to the front of the van, ties in with all of the other stuff, and then get everything tied into the S-Pods. There is a lot to get done today. And to be honest with you guys, I just don't think it's all that entertaining to watch somebody running wires and looping things around, especially because it's very difficult to follow if you're not there in person. However, the astute will notice that Pat right there is running some power to test lights into a second S-Pod controller. We had so many lights on this van, we had to add another controller, tie it into the screen, and you know what? Just look at this.